Now, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Venkataramanan, presenting lighting for older adults. CRSC Treasurer Venkat is the Chief Scientist Officer at McRae Imaging in Toronto. He is also an industry professor at the McMaster School of Biomedical Engineering at McMaster University. Venkat is the founder and Chief Technology Officer of Lumentra, Inc. From 2006 to 2020, he was the Director of Scientific Operations at the Impact Center, University of Toronto. And from 2008 to 2011, he was an adjunct professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the Toronto Metropolitan University. Venkat has a doctoral degree in physics and held various research and teaching positions in the UK, India, Portugal, Japan, and China. Take it away, Venkat.
Thank you, Mataha. Welcome, everyone. This is a talk about lighting for aging adults, which is emerging as one of the very important topics. I just want to start with a few disclaimers before I go on anything else. I'm not a medical practitioner, so nothing that I talk here is prescriptive. So you should not be making any of your decisions on the basis of what I'm saying here. I mean, like, it's a synthesis of emerging knowledge across, various fields, most notably, like in neuroscience, neurodegenerative diseases, ophthalmology, building science, lighting technologies, physics, and smart devices. It's also some of the topics that I'm going to talk about. Are the clinical trial results. Again, I want to reiterate that these are still on trial in various places, and nothing. none of your decisions should be on the basis of what's being discussed here. The knowledge is still evolving. It's a very nascent subject. Every day, we learn about new things in this field. Finally, I will be talking about, few of the products that we are developing in my company. But I just want to let you know that, no product is endorsed here. Just to give an overview of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the basis of light, vision, and non-visual effects of light, particularly with a particular emphasis on aging adults. The vision changes as people become old. The cognitive decline, in some aging adults, associated fall risks that emerge out of it. There will, and finally, in the last section, I'll talk about the comprehensive lighting system that we are developing for aging adults that takes safety, ambience, task performance, biological well-being, and emotional well-being of aging adults. How important it is, to develop, something special for aging adults. It is, very important because, roughly about, 10 million people are there, above 60 or older, who can be classified as aging adults. And of them, about 15% of them are in care homes. That number should be significantly higher, but we don't have, necessary care homes, for aging adults. People are still at their home. They should be, they should be gracefully aging at their homes. That is the ultimate aim of everyone working in the field. But at the same time, we are seriously short of care homes, in Canada. So with that background, let me go into the first topic, which will give some basics related to lighting, light, vision, and biological activities in human. Okay? For millions of years, we evolved under sunlight. We used to be in full sun during the daytime, and then we get into the interior spaces for safety at nighttime. Once the sun sets, everything is dark, and we used to be spending our night, in perfect darkness. And this is how we were, for millions of years, and this is how our biological systems evolved. Our vision has evolved for this. our biological activities, I mean, like are centered around this the presence or absence of sun. But then, I mean, like what we started doing, like everything else, I mean, like we started inventing, I mean, like way to extend our productivity. I mean, first we started using animal fat for lighting. I mean, like around, I mean, like some very long back. I mean, like 70,000 BCE, and then we used oil lamps around the same time. And then it moved to, I mean, like much more regulated lighting. I mean, like with candles around 3000 BCE. And kerosene lamps in 900 CE. I mean, about approximately more than 1,000 years back. Nothing much happened for a long time until, I mean, electric light came into picture. We developed incandescent light around, I mean, like 1800s, fluorescent lighting about 1925. And these two are there for, I mean, almost 100 years. I mean, like these two dominated for interior lighting for a long time. Along with these, there are also other technologies like metal halides and other type of lighting, but I'm not going to go into that. I mean, like I'm going to restrict my talk. I mean, like with this thing. With the dawn of the new millennium, I mean, like around 2001, we started developing LED for general purpose lighting. Light emitting diodes existed as a technology for a long time, but they were not bright enough for using in general purpose lighting. That happened, I mean, like with the discovery of gallium nitride blue LEDs and associated combining them with phosphors to generate white LEDs, and products started appearing in market in the early 2000s. And just to see, I mean, like how we have been improving over years, over the ages. We used to be using, I mean, like fuel-based lighting, combustion-based lighting, and all the way up to LEDs. And the source efficacy, which is, I mean, the lumens per watt, the amount of electrical energy that you spend and the light that you get out of it has been significantly increasing. I mean, like to see that, to compare that with incandescent and LED, I mean, like it's about 200 times, I mean, more efficient compared to incandescent light. Not only that, we improved the efficiency, we also started reducing the price for the brightness. And you can see that, I mean, like particularly, I mean, like if you focus on LEDs, which is there from across the graph, around 2000, I mean, like it used to be 100 times more expensive than what we are now. And we are, I mean, like at 200 lumens per watt in LEDs, which is easily, I mean, like the most efficacious source, I mean, like that is available for us. All these things has, I mean, like completely changed our behavior. How do we use light? What do we do with that? How do we spend our day and how do we spend our night? Once the electrical light started coming into use, we are no longer spending days in perfect sunlight and nights in perfect darkness. You can see that, I mean, like the light starts creeping in, I mean, like during the night time. And literally, I mean, like there is no respite from right. I mean, like 24 hours, I mean, like our spaces are being lit. That accounts for both indoor and outdoor spaces. But equally important is to notice that the light that we are using during the daytime, we don't spend, I mean, like a lot of time in outside, I mean, like in sunlight, which is highly beneficial for our biological system. But we are spending on indoors, I mean, like in artificially lit spaces. So this means that we are not getting the full benefit of sun, and we are also not getting the full benefit of darkness and resting at night time. And this has thrown up our biological system into complete chaos. I mean, like in the last 100 years, particularly, I mean, like in the last 2-3 decades, I mean, like with more and more light being used everywhere. And I'm going to talk about, I mean, like my talk will largely center around, I mean, like what happens, I mean, like because of this. But before getting in there, I just want to say that, I mean, like even though we say that we spend, I mean, day in sunlight, the sunlight itself, I mean, like is not constant. It changes in spectral composition as well as, I mean, like brightness throughout the day. If you wake up and come out of your house or look through the window in the morning, you see a bright blue sky in the morning, which is, I mean, like what we define as cool white in terms of lighting parlance. And this actually becomes brighter and brighter as the day progresses. Around the noon, it becomes at its brightest level and then starts slowly going down in the evening. the spectral composition changes and it becomes more yellowish orange, before it eventually settles and into perfect darkness, when sun sets. So the spectral, it's important to note that the spectral composition as well as, like the brightness of sun changes throughout the day. Equally important to note is that our sources, electrical light sources, also don't have, same or similar spectral composition. Each one of them have their own characteristics. I won't go into a lot of details, but the first two, if you look into the first one is the sunlight, which is the ideal light source that we want, during our daytime. But what we have closer to that is incandescent lamp. But if you recall my previous slide, it's very poor in terms of efficacy. It wastes a lot of energy. So the more and more efficacious sources, such as like fluorescent lamp and high pressure sodium lamp, which are used in outside lighting, in roadway lighting, in street lighting, they really don't have the full spectrum, that is needed for us. They have only, selective lines, and so this is easily noticeable, with the color of the source itself, as well as, the color it renders the objects. But with the advent of LED lighting, one major change has happened. The LEDs, all white LEDs that we are using now, are primarily blue LEDs because that's the most efficient source. And on the top of the blue, we put a lump of phosphors, which is, absorbing energy in blue and re-emitting in the higher in the red yellow wavelengths of the visible spectrum. These two being the complementary end of the spectrum, together when we see them, our eye perceives this as white. It's not the white by nature, it's the white because, two complementary end of the spectrums are mixed together. But I will talk a little bit more about that. Initially, when LEDs started, they were really very poor in color quality because they did not have, good green spectrum, as well as, in the far end, more importantly, in the far end in red, they were very deficient. And as a result of that, early LEDs, they're really very poor in color rendering qualities. But these things have changed now. So what we did, we optimized everything. As we do always with our technologies, we made the light sources brighter and brighter. We made them cheaper. We also made them for longer life. LEDs, for example, can be like incandescent bulb. For every 20 incandescent bulb that you need to change, you might be able to use only one LED and get away with that. So there is a total, if you look into total cost of ownership, LEDs are, far more efficient than anything else. So we optimized everything. Just as we have optimized the fast food, we optimized the fast food, to provide more calories for people, to make it cheaper, and also, faster. When we just drive across the drive-through, it's available for us, within a couple of minutes. But all of us know, very well that this food, is not the ideal food that we should be eating every day. Because it does not contain all the micronutrients that we want. It's not, it's packed with calories, that too much of calories that we really do not want. And that's exactly what has happened with lighting as well. And we need to get out of this situation. And one possibility for that is that LEDs are thankfully available, across the spectrum. They are discrete sources of LEDs are available from blue to red, and you can combine them with other secondary emitters like phosphors or quantum dots and things like that to make them really very good. And you can simulate pretty much any kind of spectrum, including the solar spectrum that we want. So LEDs really now offer, much more than cost and the quantity of light. They can also offer us better lighting quality if it sacrifices a little bit on the cost and the efficacy. So with that background about lighting, I'm going to look into our biological systems. In terms of visual and non-visual pathways in vision. I won't go into too much of technical details over here. Suffices to say that light enters through the cornea, through the lens in the front of the eye, and it forms an image at the back of the eye in the retina. Okay. And at the retina, there are photoreceptive cells. Most notably, I mean, like there are a set of red, green, and blue cones, which are the ones which are sensing colors. And there are also rod cells, which I mean help us to gauge the brightness of the source. So together with all these things, we are able to perceive all colors with these photoreceptors. And this is something that we know. I mean, like we know for a long time, we know for several centuries that this is how it works. But increasingly, I mean, like in the last 100 years, we know a lot more details about that and the deficiencies in some cases and how to handle them. But what is new here is that very recently we came to know about that there is a non-visual tract as well. I mean, okay, what we call as retinohypothalamic tract. Again, I mean, like light come through the cornea and lens and forms image at the back of the retina. And along with the rods and cones, there are third type of cells over there, what are called as intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells really, I mean, like trigger, they create electrical impulses that is mediated by superior cervical ganglion. Suprachiasmatic nucleus, and then through that it goes to the superior cervical ganglion at the top of your spine, and comes back to the pineal gland at the back of your brain. And pineal gland is the one that secretes melatonin, which is very important for resting and sleeping. We are going to see more of it in the next slide. All these things are regulated with light. When you wake up in the morning, when you see the bright blue sunlight, your body starts producing a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is activating hormone. I mean, like it slowly starts increasing in the morning from 6 o'clock and gets to the maximum at 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning. So that is when, I mean, like you start becoming, I mean, like more and more active, and your alertness, I mean, like increases along with the cortisol level increase in the morning, and you become maximum alert during the midday, I mean, like at 12 o'clock. And as the sun becomes, I mean, like less bright in the afternoon and changes in spectral composition, the cortisol level goes down significantly. And around, I mean, 6 o'clock in the evening, your body starts producing melatonin. Melatonin is that hormone, I mean, like that calms you down, prepares you for sleeping, and it slowly increases in your system and reaches a maximum around, I mean, like 2 to 4 a.m. in the night. And then, I mean, like melatonin level goes down. And your body temperature also simultaneously changes along with all these things. At around the 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, your body starts becoming warming up and starts producing cortisol, and you are ready for the next day. I'm not giving, I mean, like the full details of the molecular mechanism of that. You can see that, I mean, like it's such an important discovery that it was awarded Nobel Prize in 2017, very recently, within the last decade. And so, I mean, like the knowledge on these things are just emerging, and because of this knowledge, the applications are now coming in all fields across. So light is not just seeing; it's more than seeing. It regulates your sleep. It regulates your nervous system. It controls your cognitive performance and mood. It controls your motor activity. It also, I mean, controls your memory, hormones, cell cycle, as well as peripheral clocks in your body. And so light is very important. I mean, like for not just for seeing, but also for the entire physiological activity of our body. And not just light, I mean, like good color quality of light is very important. As you can see that each of those rods and cones, I mean, like have different peak spectral sensitivities at different parts of the spectrum. And the third type of cell, intrinsically photosensitive ganglion cells, which is a melanopsin receptor, that has a completely different peak. So our body needs we have to see, I mean, like the entire spectrum of light, just as in sunlight, because I mean, like we evolved, I mean, like under sunlight for millions of years. I mean, like this is how our biological system is tuned. So with that background, I'm now going to move on to what happens, I mean, like when we become old, as we age, our vision changes, our cognition start declining. I mean, like at some advanced aging levels. And that's also affected by the non-visual effects of light. We are understanding, I mean, like recently associated with that, there are other health things that are secondary effects, such as, I mean, like increased fall and things like that happen. Okay, so again, I mean, like without going into too much of details, because as we age, I mean, the eye lenses start thickening and they become hardening, and the pupil becomes really smaller to let lesser amount of light through our eyes. We need more light as we age. I mean, like anybody who is above 50 start needing more light than somebody who is in their 20s. And aging adults need at least, I mean, like 25 to 50% more light. Otherwise, everything looks very dim. Okay, so it's very important that the interior spaces, I mean, like in which people above 50 work and stay, I mean, like they are really well lit, particularly in the morning time, okay, in the daytime. Okay. Not just the thickening of lens and reducing of the pupil size. There are also, I mean, like other diseases that can happen in eye. That includes cataract, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma. Each one of them affect your vision in a completely different way. Sometimes, I mean, like as people age, I mean, like there is more than one condition happens, and as a result of that, the vision significantly start declining. That's about the visual aspect of lighting. I mean, like as people age, visual aspects as people age. What happens to the circadian rhythm? The circadian rhythm is very well pronounced when somebody is very young. What does it mean is that the cortisol level or melatonin level, or I mean, like at let's say that I mean, like the lower melatonin level during the daytime and higher lower melatonin cortisol level at nighttime. The amplitude of this peak, I mean, like is significantly higher for somebody who is young. Whereas, I mean, like these levels really don't change a lot. I mean, like when people become older. And so, I mean, like the circadian rhythm is kind of less pronounced as people become older. And one aspect of that reflects in the fragmentation of the circadian rhythm. When a baby is born, you know that, I mean, like baby, the only thing that baby does is, I mean, like it feeds and sleeps. I mean, like every 2 or 3 hours, it feeds and sleeps. But it starts slowly consolidating the sleep pattern. And by the time, I mean, like the baby is about, I mean, like 1 to 2 years, their sleep pattern is almost consolidated, and they are fully awake during the daytime and fully sleeping during the nighttime. And this continues for a while. And by the time, I mean, like an interesting thing happens, I mean, like when they become teenaged, at that time, their circadian rhythm starts delaying. I mean, like they find it very difficult to wake up in the morning, and also find it equally difficult to go to bed. I mean, like at nighttime, or I mean, like they would like to stay awake. I mean, like at nighttime. And there are lots of research that are being done, which point out that starting schools at 8 o'clock in the morning is really not good, particularly for teenagers, high school students, and early college students. You have to delay them. They are not cognitively alert in the morning. It takes more time for them to get ready for their work. Unlike, I mean, like somebody who is in 30 and 40, they can start early for work, and they can their sleep pattern is very consolidated. They stay fully awake during daytime and fully sleeping during nighttime. But then, I mean, like as you become above 65 years old, slowly your circadian rhythm starts fragmenting, and people start feeling sleepy during the daytime, in the mid-afternoon, sometimes, I mean, like in mid-morning, and then even in the early morning. And increasingly, I mean, like it becomes more and more fragmented. They find it very difficult to stay awake during the daytime and equally difficult to sleep during the nighttime. And these things, I mean, like cause a lot of problem. Particularly, I'm going to focus on Alzheimer's and dementia. The circadian dysfunctions in Alzheimer, when somebody is getting Alzheimer's, is that there is a delayed phase of temperature rhythm. I told that, I mean, like when the cortisol increases in the morning, your body temperature also increases along with that. But for aging adults, it doesn't happen like that. There is a delay for that. And they also feel, I mean, like increasingly irritated and irritating and agitated in the evening. It used to be referred to as sundowning. Then along with that, I mean, like the entire circadian expression of clock genes, I mean, like go haywire for them. What people are trying to do is that they are trying to see, I mean, like if we can use this, measure this circadian disruption and use that to predict Alzheimer's in kind of a non-invasive way. But still, I mean, like there are lots of work need to be done on that to be reliably using for that. But suffices to say that the rest activity rhythm in people with Alzheimer's is abnormal, and also, I mean, like there is increased intraday variability of the circadian rhythm as a result of, I mean, like fragmented sleep-wake cycle. One thing that some more details into these things, as the sleep-wake cycle is disrupted, there is a decreased clearance of lymphatic glands in the brain, and beta amyloid starts accumulating in the brain. And as beta amyloid starts accumulating, it leads to more and more sleep-wake disruption. And as a result of that, I mean, like that leads to Alzheimer's. I mean, like beta amyloid accumulation in brain is considered as one of the precursors for Alzheimer's disease. And once the Alzheimer's disease start progressing, it starts affecting the neuronal neurons in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. There is neuronal loss there, and as a result of that, once again, I mean, like circadian rhythm is being disrupted. This kind of goes as a self-reinforcing cycle. One leads to the other, and one pushes the other, and as a result, I mean, like it leads to what the condition called, I mean, like degenerative condition of these things. One of the consequence of this is, I mean, like as we told, as we saw before, is the fragmentation of circadian rhythm, increased fragmentation. And the other one is, I mean, like it also affects the insulin production in the body, which once again, I mean, like reinforces the accumulation of beta amyloid in the brain. What happens is that because of this unregulated, fragmented cycle, they become, I mean, like agitated, they get depressed a lot, and they are anxious, they get confused, disoriented, they are aggressive, I mean, like at times, some people, not everyone. And another thing is that, I mean, like they start wandering, and because they have memory loss, I mean, like when they go out, just about yesterday or something like that, I heard that, I mean, like someone in North York left their home, and the family is searching for them. There has been an alert looking for a man who is, I think he's about 70 years old or something like that. They don't know whether he has dementia or not, but I mean, it's a classical thing that happens with people with dementia. They also start becoming very agitated and start yelling to their own children, as well as, I mean, like caregivers. An indirect effect of all these things is that there is an increased nighttime falling, and that's one of the things that I'm going to focus on. Falling in adults, falling is really, I mean, like bad for everybody. I mean, like nobody wants to have their bones broken, but particularly, I mean, like in aging adults, it can be debilitating because, I mean, like once their bones fracture, it's very difficult to get it healed. I mean, like that pretty much is the end of quality of life for them. Because of that, they lose mobility, they become dependent on others, and they also lose confidence as a result. Canadian statistics show that aging adults above 65, I mean, like 2 out of 3 fall at least once every year. And of those falls, about a third of them end up in long-term care home. So that's a significant cost on our healthcare system. The fall-related expenses for the Canadian healthcare system is about 5.6 billion, whereas all other injuries put together is only, I mean, less than 2 billion. So fall is really very, very serious. And this fall risk, I mean, like increases when somebody is diagnosed with dementia. 85% of the people, I mean, like living with dementia, at least fall once in a year. I'm going to give, I mean, like more details about why does that happen, I mean, like a little bit later. But the fall rate is increasing, and in the last couple of decades, the population adjusted mortality rate literally has doubled due to falls. One reason for this is that there is, I mean, like a loss in the progressive degeneration of outer layer of the brain as people become, I mean, people have dementia. And as a result of that, they can't really just judge what is vertical. If you give them a rod and ask them to hold vertically, they would be holding it at an angle tilted. I mean, typically, I mean, like it is tested with left hand and right hand, and both the hands together, one hand's above the other hand, and all orientation. And almost everybody who is diagnosed with dementia have this loss in verticality. And as a result of that, what happens is that when they are in the bed in the horizontal position and they wake up and get into the vertical position to go to the bathroom at night time, that's also very important, because I mean, like as people become old, they lose bladder control and they have to go to bathroom a couple of times, and this leads to increased number of falls. With all these knowledges that are gathered, I mean, like across all these fields, people are trying to create a lighting system, I mean, like lighting products for particularly targeted towards aging adults. And in my company, I mean, like we are at McRae, I mean, like we are doing certain product developments. These products are not yet in market. So these are, I mean, like early stage things that I'm going to be talking about here. They take into account, first and foremost, I mean, like safety as the most important aspect to consider. Visual performance is very important because we want people to be independent. Biological well-being and emotional well-beings are also important. So we call this project as Aladdin, short form for adaptive lighting for aging and dementia intervention. These lights take into account the visual performances, psychophysiological aspects of needs of us, as well as personal safety. I discussed, I mean, like some of these things before. The goal is to develop a 24-hour lighting scheme for aging adults that is targeted towards preventing falls, particularly, I mean, like reducing the nighttime falls, give them a better ambient lighting that is aligned to their circadian rhythm, provide additional task lighting, as well as, I mean, like ambient enhancement, I mean, like for getting, I mean, for mood elevation. Okay. We set to ourselves with the following design goals, because I mean, like we are designing a product for set of products for aging adults. We want them to be, I mean, like fully automated, because particularly those with the dementia will find it difficult to learn to use those things. So these products should just work, I mean, like without any kind of controls or anything like that. So they are smart and they are sensors enabled. There is a whole slew of sensors that senses everything around and operates them. As I mentioned in the previous slide, I mean, like they integrate various aspects of visual and non-visual and biological well-being needs of aging adults. We target these products both for at-home use as well as, I mean, like, and for those with institutional care. And it also, I mean, like has to minimize the caregiver burdens. I mean, like, because that caregiver burdens is one of the serious issues, I mean, like in dealing with aging adults. And when we talk about the sensors, immediately the question of privacy, I mean, like individual information comes into picture. We set ourselves a goal that, I mean, like no individual tracking should be done with these things. However, for doing, I mean, like further research in this field, we may be able to collect some aggregated data, I mean, if people are volunteering into those things. Just to give a big picture of what we are trying to do, they are centrally mediated with a hub. I mean, like for the lack of better things, you can consider it as a tiny computer, which is connected either to the network or can also operate, I mean, like independent of the network. And they are connected to a bunch of sensors which detect the presence or absence, the motion, door contact in the bathroom, bed occupancy to understand, I mean, like when they are getting up, and they can then turn the appropriate lights on and off as needed. I won't go into too much of technical details of these things. We are, suffices to say that, I mean, like we are using the most advanced protocols for doing these things, open protocols. It's called Matter. I mean, like it's endorsed by all big companies, including Google, Amazon, Samsung and everyone, just about everyone, I mean, like in the field, because I mean, like interoperability is very important. I mean, like if you want to use this for various applications, we will be using multiple sensors with redundancy. We won't be depending, say, for example, I mean, like if the lights have to come on when they get off the bed, there will be a bed occupancy sensor as well as a motion sensor. Both the sensors have to be triggered, I mean, like for these lights to be activated on that. Or in some cases, I mean, like even if one of them triggers, it's sufficient enough because you definitely want to have light, I mean, when it is needed. Eventually, I mean, like our goal is to use machine learning to glean some insight into from these data. I mean, like I'll talk a little bit about it later. These lights, I mean, like are operated with smart controls. I won't go into a lot of detail. So at any given time, you can see which of the sensors or which of the devices are getting activated. And we also can have the historic information about when certain devices are activated. With that platform, the first set of product that we made is called Pathfinder. It's a fall prevention light, and also I mean like a wayfinding light. For the lack of better description, they work almost like Lego block. I mean, like they can be connected to each other direct simply by joining them. And you can use them to they turn on and off with motion as we program it, and they don't suddenly come. They just, I mean, like slowly ramp up, and likewise, I mean, like when they go to bed, I mean, they slowly dim down. They provide direction illumination, so I mean, like people will be directed to the bathroom and not to the outside door or something like that, because wandering is a serious issue. They are used to frame the objects, doors, staircases, etc. As if you remember, I mean, like in my one of the previous slides, I told that the loss in verticality is the key for the increased number of falls. So if you provide illuminated simultaneous horizontal and vertical cues, the clinical research data, I mean, shows that the response time increases and the falls can be minimized, I mean, like in these cases. These lights are also crafted with particular wavelength that does not suppress melatonin production in nighttime. So as a result of that, I mean, like there is a minimum sleep disturbance. It provides sufficient alertness, but not fully awake the people as they want to use the washrooms. We did some initial field trials with the help of this product was developed when I was at the University of Toronto with the funding from Agewell. And with the help of Center for Elder Research at Sheridan College, I did some field trials in homes of people with dementia, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19 pandemic, it had to be stopped. The idea is to utilize the data collected from various sensors and lights. We also want to, we have improved the position sensors so that we just not only detect the motion of the people, but we can also detect, I mean, if they are motionless for a while. Say, for example, I mean, like if they have fallen or something like that, then we will be able to predict, we will be able to understand that, and we will be able to alert people with that. With this data, it will be possible for us to look into, I mean, like say, I mean, the time spent in the toilet at night. If they go to the toilet, normally take about 5 minutes. If they haven't returned in 10 minutes, then I mean, like caregivers can be immediately alerted for that. And also for other medical research, we can determine about, we can understand about how frequently they use the toilet, how alert are they, how are they moving, I mean, like inside the nighttime, inside the interior space at nighttime. As well as, I mean, like we can look into the restlessness at bed. The second set of lights are ambient lights, and these are the general purpose lights. I told you before that the sunlight varies in spectral composition as well as brightness throughout the day. So these lights are essentially, I mean, designed to follow the same space. In one of the earlier slides, I told that if as the Alzheimer diseases progress, the biological clock becomes increasingly fragmented. Though the underlying mechanism for this is not clear, we know fully well that by providing bright light in the middle of the day really does not help as much as providing bright blue light first 2 hours in the morning. It's a kind of, like circadian entrainment. Like early in the morning when you provide blue rich light and combined with the physical activity, little bit of physical activity in the morning, clinical results show that it works even better. So our lights are available in the form of trophers, rectangular or linear, square, circle format, like any way that you want. They are color temperature tunable, programmable, and they work with circadian simulator. Any kind of wavelength composition can be programmed into these things as needed. And a surplus thing is that because they are LED, like they're also energy efficient. So we'll be able to program very, as I said, like to enter in the circadian rhythm, very bright blue rich light in the morning and neutral light in the midday, and warm dim light progressively, like as the day winds down in the evening. Finally, this is something that we very recently started. We recently started learning about that. That appropriate light can create the right kind of activation. Like whether people want to be active or want to feel cozy. This is something like all of us intuitively know. Like if you use like bright blue light, such as the fluorescent light that are there in the office spaces, you feel like more active in that compared to like the light that you have at your home, which is dim and like warm spectral. You feel very cozy about that. But now like there is a lot of research done on these things, and they are quantified about how to control these things. There is also other research that is very recently published, which shows that if you have the images of nature, even the fake images, you don't need to be, everybody knows the benefit of being in nature. There are research done in the past which shows that if you make people walk outside in the aged adults walk outside in the day, they feel much better. You can delay the progression of Alzheimer's disease and things like that. But now the news data show that even if you have fake image of nature, it still helps to reduce the heart rate, reduce the agitation, to reduce the anxiety, as well as people feel more like calm and alert, like with appropriate light. We want to make use of all these things. So my company originally like makes illuminated light boxes. I did not talk about that, but very easily combining our knowledge in large format displays, we can create what are called as the fake skies with appropriate spectral composition that mimics the clouds and sky in the daytime, as well as warm evenings in the nighttime. And this, we hope that we are now talking to the East York General Hospital to do some field trials on these things. We will be working in a 12-bed facility to look into that. The talks are at a very early stage, but I'm excited about this. So just to recap about the products, the system of products help in fall prevention, improve the ambience with circadian enabled lighting. And also, we are targeting emotional well-being with mood-appropriate lighting as well as light boxes. So they will together take into account safety, visual performance, biological well-being, and emotional aspects of lighting. This work, as I said, was started when I was working at the University of Toronto. I'm also now part of the School of Biomedical Engineering at McMaster University, where some of this work will be continued. My company is McRae, and I work at McRae, and I started Lumentra, which is a photometric company. So these companies have contributed a lot to this research, and initial funding for this work was received from AgeWell. With that, I would like to wind up and go for discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venkat. That was illuminating, very informative. If you want to stop the share screen, and if we have any questions, you can ask them directly or write them in the chat. It's up to you. You can also put your cameras on. Or maybe you want to share any personal experiences with us or any comments.
Well, one of the things that, field trials, I won't call them as clinical trials because, they were not done with the rigorous rigor that is required for clinical trials. We did field trials uh, on homes of people with advanced stage of Alzheimer's. And one of the things that we learned is that initially, it was my idea to provide controls to people who are using that, because in addition to being operating automatically, we also wanted to provide them some controls so that they will be able to fine tune it as they to their needs. But then we learned very quickly that they really don't understand this, and sometimes when they don't understand what is happening, they just get irritated by that. And at least in one case, the lady just yanked everything out, and within about 2 hours after it started working. So we learned, this is very important that, we do the real world field trials, not just design something that from what we read about in research papers. So we change the aspects related to programming and hide the controllers so that it just magically comes. You step off the bed, it senses that you are getting up, and the light will slowly ramp up. It won't suddenly come to startle the person. It'll slowly, because your eye is also dark adapted. You don't need, very bright light to start with. It slowly ramps up. And as long as they stay inside the bathroom with the contact sensor sensing that the whole light system will be on. And eventually when they return to the bed without them noticing. And it was really heartening to see that, in one of the later stage field trials that we saw, within about, 1 week or so, they started getting used to it. They used to reach out for the old light switch in the bathroom and down the way. And we had to hide it. We have to block them to access it. But then, they got used to the light. And once, they got used to within a week, they found it, almost nature. And we noticed that they never reach out for the old switch. It just became the part of them, actually.
Well, we have some comments here. We
Yeah.
have a comment from Maya. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Greetings from Belgium. And we have a comment
Oh,
from
wow.
Sandy. Thank you, Venkat, for a very informative lighting. We have a question from Sarmal. Please explain how to adjust the lighting formulas for different seasons, such as winter, and insightful presentation. So if you can explain that, and then we will come to you, Raj.
Yeah, so this is something that is advanced control of light. Ideally, what we want is that even though I am a lighting engineer, I would recommend people to be outside during the daytime, in sunlight. Okay? In the absence of that, one thing that can be done is to bring sunlight into your house. Nowadays, you can have domes, through which lights can come in, light can come into your living spaces. But one of our plan is to put photosensors outside, sense the spectrum, because the sensors are becoming very, very cheap. When I started doing this work, some of the sensors used to cost about at least $20, $30 a piece. Nowadays, I'm getting them for $2. Okay. So I'm talking about within the last 5-6 years, the price has plummeted so much. And it's our hope that we will be able to sense the actual spectrum outside, including the level of, like on a cloudy day like this, you can actually dim down and just mimic, what is there available outside. Should remember that even though we pre-program all these things and we want to control that, in institutional care particularly, we want to give the caregivers the handle to fine-tune that. If somebody is feeling very sluggish, probably they will be able to adjust the lighting by 10 to 20% to see, if they can be more active with a brighter light. Or if somebody is becoming very agitated, they can change the light. So we want to give them that kind of a freedom for that. But as much as possible, they will be very automated. And one way of doing, to answer your question, is to put a tiny spectral sensor outside and measure the spectrum as well as the brightness of light and adjust that accordingly for a cloudy day inside. And that would also be the same thing for the seasonal variation as well.
Thanks, Venkat. I think Raj has his hand up. We can't hear you, Raj, if you want to put your mic on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venkat. It's an amazing presentation. This is the first time I heard about the relationship between the lights and the quality of life. My question is, I'm sure you would have mentioned that, I may have missed it, the relationship between lights, and the impact of lights on Alzheimer's disease. And if you can briefly mention to me, it would be nice.
See, it's kind of very difficult to. It's a good question. Thanks for that. It's very difficult to isolate one factor because the challenge in doing clinical research on this field is that let's say that making elderly people walk in the sunlight during the daytime delays the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, now it's very difficult to isolate whether the physical activity is the contributing factor or the light is the contributing factor, okay? Because they two are very closely intertwined in this activity that you are doing. So it's very difficult to say that exactly just by putting more light, it's very can we change the progression of Alzheimer's disease? But at least there are about 4 or 5 clinical trials that are done both in North America as well as in Europe, which show that if you provide bright blue-rich light in the morning for the first 2 hours after they wake up, then they feel more active, basically. And the more they are active during the daytime, more they are rested during the nighttime. So, yeah, so to answer your question, while it's not 100% quantifiable, there are results that show that if you provide bright blue-rich light in the morning, that helps in delaying the progression of Alzheimer's.
Thank you, Venkat. We have also Chris is saying that was very insightful. Thank you. I have a question for you, Venkat. It's related to installing these new type of lights, for instance. Is it required to refit your entire lighting installations, or are these like wire-free installations?
Yeah, so that's the technical part of the whole thing. Okay, so that's why I mentioned that we are making trophers. Trophers are very common in healthcare facilities. 2x4 lights. In the past, they used to have 2 to 4 fluorescent tubes in them. So these are form factor wise, the same thing. They operate it at the line voltage, so you can just remove this and put that because they internally have their own power supply, intelligent power supply inside. So you can just remove them and put them in here in the same place. But if you want to take account in full aspects of this lighting, one of our goals is also not just make the light the ambience good, but we also want to take care of things like flicker, glare, and things like that. If you want to control the glare, then those things are better controlled in a new facility. Where we can position the light in appropriate place, so that they don't combine with the light that is creeping in through the window and make at one part of the room very bright or something like that. So the lights will really be good in a new facility where we can ground up design the lighting for that place. But that said, they are just drop-in trophers and linears that you can use it in any place. Just remove the old one and put them.
Right. Thank you.
Hello, Venkat. This is Vijay. It was a very interesting, informative, and very useful talk today. I have 2 questions. One, is it all right to have a dim light or low intensity light right throughout the sleeping time? And my second question is, when there is light, when you get up and go to the washroom and come back, when where there is light, it will increase the cortisol again. So will it be difficult to go back to sleep after exposing yourself to a light?
Okay. I will answer the question in two parts. The first part is about our own lighting systems. Our own lighting systems are specifically designed with a set of wavelengths that will not suppress the melatonin at night time. Okay. So they will not, I mean, like as I mentioned during my main talk, they will provide you sufficient alertness, but they won't make you fully awake. You can go back, I mean, to sleep because it's not going to cause any problem. The second part of the answer is a general one. I mean, like to your question, that in a general house, in your house, if you want to do that, if you want to keep a light on throughout the night, I mean, so a lot of seniors want this. They want their for their own safety. They at least about, I mean, like I was told that about 30 to 40% of the seniors want at least one light to be on in their room for their own safety. If you do that, then just make sure that, I mean, like the light is very warm. Okay, don't use the blue rich light. Don't use blue LEDs. I've seen some night lights with blue color because they look really funky. I mean, like people buy them and use them. But even the slightest blue, such as, I mean, like when you have your computer on, you see that, I mean, like the indicator blue light that will come out of that. Even those things, I mean, are not advisable. So cut down all the blue, have a warm light, and keep it at maybe 5%. I mean, like buy a dimmable light that can be dimmed to very low level, so that you feel safe to be with light, but you don't get, I mean, like very affected by the light.
All right, thank you very much, Venkat.
Yeah.
Thank Venkat. We have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. First, Udo says, great talk, Venkat. I knew a couple of people who fell at night. And now I understand better why this happened. Appreciate your topic. Then we have a question from Elizabeth. So first, she thanks you for a great talk, but the question is, what about changes in spectral sensitivity with increased age due to the yellowing of vision that happens with the elder age of the lens of the eye, obviously? So should these changes, as well as the reversal of yellowing that would occur post-cataract surgery, be accounted for in the lighting temperature?
I am not very knowledgeable in this field. I mean, I would say that, I mean, like my knowledge on this is very limited. But as I said, I mean, like the way that we look into the lighting community, look into the whole thing is that make it blue rich during the daytime. I mean, like give them as much blue as possible in the morning, and then start slowly cutting it down. And if they are not able to see, I mean, blue at nighttime, that's fine. I mean, like that's perfectly fine. It's not going to affect them in any way. So the lights that are crafted this way, that is aligned to circadian rhythm, should mostly be good. Only thing that I would say is that people might require different levels of brightness. As I said, I mean, like as their lenses thicken, as their lens becomes more and more scattering, I mean, in some cases. And as you mentioned, I mean, like in case of cataract, I mean, like which forms, I mean, like a film on the top, I mean, the amount of light that passes through that goes down. So different people will require different brightness, and that's a very straightforward thing to adjust for individual needs for that. First and foremost thing is that safety. Okay, you can't dim it down. I mean, like ideally, what we want is a perfect darkness after 6 o'clock. Okay, but that's not, I mean, like possible in all the cases. They have to be safe, and that's why, I mean, like the fall prevention light that we made. People can use it in a perfectly dark bedroom, which is ideal for them. And when they get up, when they wake up, they will see the light. Okay. So to answer your question, even though I really fully do not know about the subtleties of that, the general knowledge consensus in lighting community is to make as blue rich as possible in the early mornings, and then cut it down. Even if they're not able to see blue in the evening, that's perfectly fine. Okay.
Thanks, Venkat. Judith says, so interesting, especially as an older person. And Sridhar says, thanks, Venkat, for sharing the interesting details about lighting, and this is very useful. Overall, I enjoyed the details and the content that you have shared. So overall, we have very interesting and positive comments. I also thought it was not
Sorry,
only
I had to
interesting, but
stop.
fascinating.
I was, cognizant of the time, so I started rushing at the later part of the thing. But also, my goal was to give as much as information in the first part, which is more informative. The second part is just to inform what's being done. So even if I rush through that, I thought that's okay. So I speeded up in the later part.
It was good. Don't worry about that. Well, we already passed the hour, and so if we don't have any more questions, I think we can close this session. Barbara says, thank you for interesting presentation. So if you want to check upcoming events, lectures like this one, check it on colorresearch.org. At the events area, you can find what is coming up next. Sarma says, thank you, Venkat, again, for sharing your knowledge. Barbara says, thank you, interesting presentation. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to see you next time. Thank you, Venkat.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bye.